All right. Remember, I believe it was like 6 months ago, right? The United States, China, the European Union, even the United Emirates in the Gulf, working with Berkeley University, sent out a fleet of Mars rovers. Remember Mars rover? We have a bunch of them already from the United States. They're like these little robot cars that drive around on the surface of the planet Mars and take pictures.
Oh, you mean those like robot?
Yeah, they're robots, right? And they're trying to find life, and they're trying to find water, and they're trying to like see if there's anything interesting that you can see on the surface of the planet, right? All right. So there are like several Mars orbiters already. They're like spy satellites. They can like fully map the planet, right? There are also several Mars rovers. Several of them have died since, but so far almost all of them have been like from the United States. We've been very lucky that way.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union have been trying for years, for decades, to try and land a rover on Mars as well, but they failed. Although they've had a lot of success landing on Venus, right? On the other hand, this current fleet that was sent out 6 months ago included the very first Chinese attempt as well. And their particular mission has a Mars orbiter and a Mars lander with a Mars rover. But the one that everybody's keeping an eye on is this one from NASA. It's the size of a school bus. It's one of the biggest Mars rover ever built. It has a nuclear-powered power system, so it doesn't need to rely on solar panels anymore.
Yeah.
Remember, like some of the previous rovers, it couldn't get enough sunlight and it died.
He said something again.
Oh yeah, he loves the small robots.
On Mars?
Yeah. So, but those things actually were designed to only last like a few years, 1 or 2 years. But they actually lasted like almost a decade.
Why did they put those robots there? To look for aliens or something?
Well, yes, alien life, but they think the alien life is only like microbes. Remember the yogurt bacteria I told you about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that size, okay? Or the size of your red blood cell. They're very tiny, small. Mostly they're looking for water and for life and for signs of life. And also signs of life in the past as well, because they thought that in the past Mars had a lot of water, right? So for example, if you go to like the Grand Canyon today, you can look along the wall of the canyon and you see all those layers of earth, different layers of earth that was put down over the ages.
Yeah.
And you can see sometimes, you can see like fossils in there, like little dinosaur fossil or little like sea urchin fossils or whatever. That's what they're looking for.
Can robots breathe though?
They don't need to breathe. That's why they're robots.
You say they need air.
No, they don't. They need electricity.
Ah.
And that's why the early ones had solar panels, like the one on your calculator machine. You put it out in the sunlight and you have the electricity from the sun, right? But they forgot to put the windshield wipers on those.
Oh, I know why they need air and water, because if you both mix them together, it's like it makes electricity, right?
Yes, that's true. That's called electrolysis. Oh, wow, you're so smart. No, but they don't need air and water. They're robots. You need air and water.
Yes.
Okay? Some robots do use fuel cells, which is what you're talking about. And you put together oxygen and hydrogen, and you get water, which is a byproduct. But these particular robots don't use it. All right?
He said something again. Alien face.
Yeah, we're talking about that's KittyCat talking about aliens. Yeah, the aliens that they're looking for are like microbial or maybe past life. So we're talking about fossil record here. So they go down these, like, for example, craters or old dried up river valleys, and they try to look for like little shells or little like bones or whatever that might have like been deposited down like millions of years ago.
Yeah. He said something again.
Yeah, he says, hey, hey.
And then the upside down smiley face.
All right, we have to do the emoji. All right, you're the emoji commander. Go ahead.
Emojis.
All right, I will continue to do my
Talking.
Yes, my explication to nobody in particular, and you will be the emoji commander. All right, and you get to like, yeah, you get to like do the chat. I can actually try and move that over onto the other side. Let me try. Okay, let me try this. Like most of the chats I see, they move it to the other side. So, all right, get ready for
Oh, you said something again.
some dizziness. So I go this on this side,
I've
right?
always wondered if there has been that.
Yeah, I've always wondered if there has been bacteria or other life forms on other planets. Yes, the theory is called, I forget the exact name, I can look it up. But that's actually a big speculation. It's not as weird as you would think, because the speculation currently is that water existed on Mars even earlier than it did on Earth. And that for Venus, it actually existed water. Venus looked very much like Earth, almost up to like maybe, I don't know, a couple 100 million years ago, which is like very recent in the geological record.
Wow, you're very smart.
Yes, I'm very well read. So it's very possible that, for example, if you get a meteor strike on a planet, like remember the one that killed the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
It would like shoot all this material up into the sky, into the space. And they spread around and fall, and eventually they fall onto other planets. And inside of them, they bring the little bacteria, right? And all you need is one little bacteria, and if they hit the right place, for example, into like a clean sea of water, right? They can start multiplying, just like in the yogurt bacteria, and voila, you have life,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, that's a really good question, politics.
This actually.
Yeah, now he's asking if we can find a fossil. And actually, if they're right about, Mars and even Venus, that's something very exciting, because we probably will find a fossil. Fossils, the easiest one to find, for example, would be like something that's deposited in a shallow ocean. All right. So, for example, today we had limestone, but it's made up of the shells of these tiny little sea creatures that has a little tiny shell. It's kind of like they're relatives of the coral, and when they die, the shell fall down to the bottom of the seabed, and they accumulate. Right. Yeah. And that's fossil right there. So it's very easy. You can actually look with a microscope on certain types of rocks and see it. Right.
Yeah.
And so so potentially we should be able to find life like everywhere, Mars, on Venus, and even a fossil record, because it's believed that there used to be large oceans over there. Now here's another thing as well. Oh, whoops! One second, I forgot to move this thing. Actually, I have to put it back the other way, because whenever I type on this thing, it pop up the screen, so I can't really hide it. Yeah. Okay. So emojis going back to the left.
In the past, there were dinosaurs, right?
Yes.
And there were also like elephant birds and saber-toothed cats.
Yeah, the saber-tooth is like only 1 million years ago. The elephant bird was only about a couple hundred years
You
ago.
guys don't know an elephant bird. They live on Madagascar, and they lay the biggest egg, bigger than an ostrich.
That's right. All right, just for that, we have to show everybody an elephant bird.
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
Elephant bird. I actually didn't know about the elephant bird until KittyCat told me about them.
Oh,
And check this out. Here's an actual skeleton, right?
Wow.
And they look kind of like a giant ostrich.
Yeah, but they got furry bodies.
Yeah, a furry ostrich. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
No, but they lived up to only 100 years, couple hundred years ago, before people ate them all. All right. So, all right, back to NASA.
The question is...
Yeah, giant bird. So, going back to politics, awesome question about whether there's other life. Another interesting source is the moons of Jupiter. Remember the 4 moons that I told you about?
Yeah, I forgot their names.
We were playing Stellaris, and I practiced, I taught you the names.
I forgot.
Europa,
Callisto,
Ganymede,
and
and Io. Or Io, I don't know which way to pronounce it. But for example, they now know that under Europa, when you do a flyby of Europa, it looks like a giant snowball because it's all frozen, liquid, right? It's like if you have water in a very cold place, it turns to ice. So it looks like a giant ice snowball.
Yeah.
But what they found is that once you go
So here's
because of
an
the
image.
gravitational
I'm also
push
gonna
and
hold up
pull
a
of
real
the
deal
Jupiter
here.
system itself,
The same
is
orientation for you.
the planet, that moon is internally heated, so that underneath that thick layer of ice, there's
Yep.
water down
So
there,
stromatolites,
like real water.
originally
And
were
inside the water,
like
there
this,
may
right?
be
They picked
life.
up like this,
So
and
all you have to do is
shape
drill
like
down
this.
through
So you're
the
looking
like
at the
ice cover,
top-down view
and then you get to
of
the water,
internal
and there may be
structure
like
of this
life
thing.
floating down there, because
Yeah.
they found, for example, in Antarctica, I read an article recently, under like 10-mile glacier that's like covering Antarctica,
Yeah.
they found life down there,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of amazing because you wouldn't think sunlight be able to go down there.
Yep.
Or where would they get the energy source? Maybe from geothermal resources or something like that. But it's really interesting.
I picked up from an
What, just sending
environment
out
not at all
emoji.
dissimilar to where we're going with Mars 2020.
Yeah.
This was from a 2.7
Anyway, we should.
million-year-old lake
The
deposit
briefing is still going on, so we haven't gotten to the.
Tumbiana Formation.
This is so much fun talking
So-
to each
so these
other.
rocks were
Yeah, so far it's just politics. He might have left.
Wait, he left?
Well, I don't know. I can't really monitor this setup right here. I have no idea who's on. Oh, there's four viewers, so I guess somebody is on. Hi, everybody. If you're on, oh, there's only one viewer now.
Aww.
Oh,
Why, viewers?
that's one over there. That's okay, but it doesn't matter because you know why? We're keeping a record of this, right?
Uh-huh.
And we can replay it later.
In which
Okay.
particles
Oh,
So-
he said something again.
and bound. Also,
Life always find a way, even under miles of ice and water. I'm here. Oh yeah, exactly. So we were just talking about Antarctica previously.
a fossil.
So this particular mission is very exciting because this is like the giant battleship of Mars rovers. It's
So that's
huge.
the kind of thing we're looking for, but
It's the size of probably 2 buses, not even one, right?
have to be very careful.
And the energy source that they're using is one of those like isotopic, radioactive
We may get so
thermal
lucky as to
generators that they use on, for example, the Voyager spacecraft, the one that they sent out really far out into space.
far more likely
And what it is like it's just like
much more
they use the radioactive decay of plutonium, right?
we have to look
And they take that heat and they turn it into electricity.
shapes.
So that in theory, this thing can power itself for the next like 60, 100 years.
He said something
Molecules,
again.
the organic molecules that we know are associated
Just
with
means
life.
they aren't
We're looking for all
cool
those
and
things
that.
occurring together. And this is why
Yeah.
we have this incredibly capable scientific paper.
So, but the problem is that when you have something this big and it's a very expensive Mars rover, if they don't land it properly and it crashes into the planet, then it's like splat. You just like burn up $2 billion.
Like the dinosaurs.
Yeah, they went splat a long time ago. Except for who?
Who are
birds?
representing
The birds. That's
The
right.
singing birds, the tiny birds on the trees.
That's right. And every morning they sing because they.
They sing for the dinosaurs?
Yes, they still still remember the day the
died.
comet smacked into the earth.
Others have said I am very excited to be one of the return sample scientists working on the Mars 2020 mission.
Oh,
My job is to represent
hope
the
it
interests of these
doesn't
future
Crash. Yeah, and that's actually a good comment, politics, because these things do have a way of crashing. For example, one of the earlier landers that NASA tried, I think it was actually a lander orbiter, an entire spacecraft. They sent it to Mars, and it was supposed to land, go to orbit and land. Unfortunately, the engineers had programmed it using inches instead of like centimeters.
Yeah.
So they got the distance wrong, and the spacecraft, I think, ended up smacking into the planet and like blew up, right?
Politics. Since you're here, you're gonna be our #1 fan.
He's already our #1 fan. We only got one fan, but that's all right. We love you anyway. Actually, we have to love you because you're our only fan.
You're our only fan here.
So yeah, but it's actually kind of exciting, and since we have time, we're just gonna like monitor this. I think they're gonna do a live briefing, and then we'll get the direct data. This program is being run out of JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is in California. I visited there a couple of times when I was younger. It's really awesome, and I have to say that JPL really is the only part of NASA that's doing any sort of innovative work these days, because the human launch part of NASA is really disappointing, right? They haven't done anything new since the space shuttle, basically. And it's not completely their fault, but because of the political system, and this is where politics go into it, because he's an expert on the U.S. political system. Every 4 years, you have like a potential change of the administration. And then NASA will have to like scrap whatever it's doing and start up a new mission, right? And the result is that they've never been able to complete a single launch vehicle in the past almost 40 years. So they finished the space shuttle.
Politics said something again.
Yes, more will come. Only means at the first round. Yeah, he's a little bit delayed. So, and so the problem with the human space flight part of NASA is that it's become very bureaucratic, and it's become more like a jobs program rather than a science program.
Yep.
And they can't really build anything. For example, their latest project is the SLS, the launch system that's built basically reusing the main engines of the space shuttle, including the solid side booster rockets. And that thing is like 10 years overdue and about $20 billion over budget. And up until last year, the United States couldn't even put its own astronauts on the International Space Station.
Yep.
Because we just did not have the rockets for it, right? What rockets we had to actually buy them used from from Russia, which still had a large supply of these RD rockets, and then fit it on our own rocket ships, right?
Yeah.
And more than that, like once they retired the space shuttle, there was no way for the United States to actually bring its astronauts back up to the ISS. And that's one of the reasons why we're in this channel also following SpaceX and Elon Musk, because for the first time, like last year, using a Falcon 9 rocket that's rated for man-human flight, we were able to take people back up into the space station ourselves from the United States. So isn't that awesome?
Yeah. While you're talking about the comet, remember we were reading this book that has all different color stars?
Yeah, it's that Herschel diagram. Remember when I showed that one? What about it? Yeah, the sun is a what class? It's yellow. It's a G class.
G class.
That chart is basically it just it lists out which the coloration and the particular categories of stars that. What's your question?
That was my question.
Oh, that was your question.
Just showing.
Yeah. Wow.
What?
No, I just noticed that the emoji command over here has been very active.
And here's more.
Yeah. So politics is saying he didn't know that we had to buy from Russia, and these are the engines that, for example, we're talking about. For example, the Delta rockets. What happened was that NASA became reliant upon this coalition of it's called United Launch Alliance, ULA, and it's made up of Northrop and Boeing and stuff, and they provide all the launch services. And so, for example, whenever they need to launch a military satellite on a Delta rocket, right?
Yep.
The rocket engine itself is from Russia. They actually bought these rocket engines from Russia, and these were surplus rocket engines on the Soviet spacecraft in the past. They built a lot of these, and they resell them to the United States.
Yeah.
So not only couldn't we bring, launch our own astronauts up to space, we couldn't even build our own rocket engines, right, to put on our rockets that we use for launching classified and military satellites. So that was a huge issue. And when Falcon 9 came along and SpaceX came along, nobody gave them any credence at all in terms of being able to launch a spacecraft. Because remember, up until SpaceX, nobody had been able to orbit a satellite unless you were a governmental organization. So SpaceX was the first and still is the first private company to be able to do that.
He said no way.
Yeah, yes way, Russia, yeah. So, and in addition to that, all our astronauts since the retirement of Space Shuttle, in order to get to the ISS, the only launch provider that we could use was the Russians provided, right? It's a 50-year-old rocket, very reliable. It's what the Russians used to put their own cosmonaut up into the space station. But they didn't let us use it for free. I think for every astronaut that we send up there, they charge us like 100 million or 150 million per person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go up there, they come back, and it's like everything is like provided for from Russia. And in terms of like cost budget analysis, it's still pretty cheap compared to like if NASA had to do it herself. But now with SpaceX, they have a very cheap alternative. And the reason for that is because SpaceX is working on fully reusable rockets.
I love emojis. Like I'm eating them and then spitting it out of my mouth. How I feel.
Yes, but please don't scare politics. You're like you're being a bit too like emoji-ish. You might scare them away, and then we will lose our only viewer, which would be kind of sad.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna quiet down. So I guess that's my introduction to what we're watching right now, and I'll just make comments occasionally, and I'll turn up the volume so that in case people are interested in what NASA is actually talking about.
Facilities and creation.
You have a lot of facts about this.
Yes, because it's very interesting. That's the world we live in, right?
Thank you to Dr. Z and to Bobby. Next caller is Keith Cowing from NASA Watch. Good
It's fine,
afternoon.
guys.
Good afternoon.
Do you love all my
Yes, we can
emojis that I sent you, politics?
With regard
I
to
hope
the
you like
exploration
them
of
because
Mars,
I'm so
just as
emoji-ish.
Yeah, you're very
the moon,
emoji-ish.
There's a growing international presence.
Kitty
in
Cat is
orbit
very
on the
cute.
surface.
It's too
Indeed,
cute.
the UAE and China
Actually, if we had
joined
Belle
Mars
here,
just last
oh, there he
week.
is. He's sleeping over
Things
there.
are becoming more complex
Yeah.
with lunar
Too
exploration.
bad we don't have a
Wind
camera.
emissions of planetary
We show you
protection,
Belle.
orbital traffic management, communications.
That was like sleeping in his bed
Demonstrated
on top of
the
our
need for
bed,
the
right next to us. It's
establishment
funny.
of what many people would call good practices on Mars, especially in the advance of
So actually,
commercial
right now they're
humans.
just going through
Specifically,
Q&A,
something
which is
akin
not
to the
very
Artemis
useful.
technology, which was developed for the moon,
So I guess we're still not there yet.
think about establishing
But this is actually a really nice format because in the past I really want to do like live streaming, especially of some of the more important launches, and I didn't know how to do it. So you gotta try and figure it out because it's pretty interesting, right? And you get to chat with everybody.
I get to send emojis to everybody.
Yeah. I'm actually working on a new video analysis. Politics works on like political analysis. So, for example, like President Trump and President Biden and who wins what and all the senators and stuff. So he's very knowledgeable on that.
Aw, that's
So we recommend everybody go and take a look at Politics Made Simple's website and channel because he's very, very knowledgeable, and I really enjoy watching him when he does that.
Aw, that is so cute. Glad Bill is all good.
Yeah.
Me too, I'm good too.
Yeah, you're good too. Well, you're lucky because like you have a half day today.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was thinking of doing an analysis because actually SpaceX is starting to push governments into like taking more innovative actions in terms of like producing launch vehicles. I read last year, for example, and I'm going to do this in a video at some point. Both China and the European Space Agency is finally, after like 10 years, considering funding research into reusable launch vehicles, right? So the first like SpaceX Falcon 9 that was fully reused probably like occurred like in 2018, 2017. So that's almost like 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
He said something again.
Yeah. So he says like SpaceX and Elon's really pumping up the levels. That is because Elon is like, he has his own agenda and he really wants to go to Mars before he dies.
I want to go to Mars too because I can find an opal. They're very rare.
Really? That's right. Kitty Cat did some research on opals and geological rocks before, right?
I found this book at Costco, and then I didn't read it for a while until like I read it, and then I saw some like beautiful like rocks and jewelry.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you really like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I found the opal.
Yeah. If you found something like that on the Earth, it would be very, very expensive.
And then I can sell it for a lot of money.
No, but like it would cost you just as much just to go out there because Mars is very far away. But that's the other advantage of the solar system because everything that you can find here on the planet Earth, you can find out in space and in the other planets, the orbiting like asteroids and orbiting bodies.
Knowledge is power.
Yes, it is. That's true.
From the others on the panel,
I'm
we've got
still
a ways
looking
to
for
go before
emojis.
that, sample retrieval lander arrives.
What? You can't send too much emojis.
Our next caller
You can,
is
right?
Ken
You can.
Creamer from Space Up Close.
All right,
Good
let me
afternoon,
see.
Ken.
I think our streaming channel is a bit laggy.
Oopsies.
What did you do? All right, cut it out. Let me see. Okay, so now it's good.
Why do you need a new
I just want to check every so often.
go into that?
This is a very primitive setup because we really don't know how to do it properly. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Slow down on the emojis, please.
Thank you for your question. What I tried to say.
All right, so we need to like focus again on the Mars rover because if anybody is coming to watch, that's what they'll be watching for. So the exciting news is not only that the United States is landing a rover right now because it was launched 6 months ago. It takes 6 months from the Earth to get to Mars. Not only the United States, but there's like a bunch of other countries, and China is a big player. And the role of China is interesting because China provides an incentive to the United States to act. The United States is very afraid of competition that way, like the former Soviet Union, for example, right? So once you have, like, for example, if you have somebody that's doing something better than you, then all of a sudden you want to like work harder, right?
Like drawing?
Yes, like drawing or competing in anything, right? So unfortunately, the Soviet Union has passed away because it had a bad government and it broke up into tiny little pieces. So now just the United States left. But the United States left by itself is not doing a very good job of like being innovative, right? So it needs a competitor, and China potentially can play that role. So it's kind of interesting, development right now because we have China, and then we have like even like other players as well. For example, we have like the Arab Emirates working together with Berkeley, is sending their own spacecraft.
Are you inspired by a yokai?
Yokai?
Yeah, there's a yokai that makes you talk so much. And
No, it's because I'm excited about the news.
and also, how long is this going to be? Because I want this to keep on going forever.
No, well, it'll end when we
This
actually get the
video
news of whether or not the Mars lander landed successfully or blew up.
If you find any sort
Okay.
of life form,
Yeah.
what would be the next
Excuse
step?
me.
Mary-
Yeah, let me bring up a little bit. Since they're doing a Q&A right now, I'm just going to go and find some more information.
Hopefully everything goes well.
Definitive evidence of past
What's all this stuff you're looking? Is that the news?
Yeah, this is the directly from NASA.
present.
And so they're going to have the
In this particular site,
news briefing live show
this is a great
February
site
15th.
for,
Let me see.
an ancient lake bed.
Landing on the red planet will occur at around 3:55, okay?
Okay.
p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, February 18th. So today, oh, so actually, we're still one day early, apparently.
Oh, you didn't check the news, right?
Well, no, but like the news came out. Like, why are they doing the briefing right now? If like not, let me see.
Yeah, that's the problem.
From life.
It could be that they're doing an earlier landing, so I don't know. They could have changed.
And so we've got
Let me see.
our work cut out for us, not just in collecting the right samples, but once they come
Yeah,
back,
but it's actually a long process. So you have to like be able to. Oh, so just to discuss this.
scientists,
So the landing is actually marked for tomorrow. So we might be able to like go back and do this again tomorrow.
Oops.
But no, actually it's a long drawn out process, a multi-day process, right?
interpretation one way or
So
the other.
remember, first they have to successfully orbit the planet, which means the entire spacecraft needs to go into orbit. They need to like, when they shoot it out to Mars, they're going like very, very fast, right? If they don't slow down, then you're just gonna shoot right past the planet and then curve around in that elliptical orbit I told you about, like a cometary orbit,
Yeah.
and come back to Earth again.
Yeah.
So to get to Mars, to stay there, they need to like when they get close to Mars, they need to like turn their rocket engine around and slow the spacecraft down enough so that it's captured by Mars gravity. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the first step. The entire spacecraft needs to go into orbit around the planet Mars.
Yeah. You know why I said oops?
What happened?
The first question would be, is that live?
He's not busy tomorrow. Yeah, we have a lot of time. So that's the first step. The second step is once they're in orbit around Mars, the lander itself needs to be able to like slow down even more because remember, orbital speed around a planet is very, very fast, right? And you need to slow down enough so that you're like zero relative to the ground motion, right? The problem with Mars is this: it doesn't have a very thick atmosphere, right? It's almost like I forget what it is, maybe like anywhere from 1 to like 10% of the Earth, probably not even 10%, probably 1 to 5%, something like that. Okay, so for example, if you're coming in from space around the Earth, what you do is like you use the atmospheric friction of the Earth's atmosphere to slow down your spacecraft.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're using a Apollo capsule or a space shuttle or a SpaceX Dragon capsule, right? What it does is like it plows into the atmosphere of the planet Earth, and it heats up because of the friction.
Yeah.
It glows like bright red hot. Understand? And the pressure of the air against the spacecraft eventually slows it. So finally it can drop down into the ground. Okay?
Oh, I didn't know that about Mars.
Yeah, the atmosphere, Mars, Elon wants to settle it, but if you're actually a sane person, you wouldn't really want to go there because it's possible to like build completely self-contained habitats, and then it might be worth it because Mars is an entire different planet with like all the resources of a planet available to you. But the atmosphere as it is right now is heavily carbon dioxide, no oxygen to speak of, and it's very thin, like probably on the order of 1 to 5% of what the atmosphere on Earth is like. Moreover, the temperature extreme is really bad. It's like we're talking about maybe 100, 150 Fahrenheit in the day. No, actually, I don't think it gets that high. Actually, it gets like no, it's very cold. Actually, I'm sorry, I was thinking about the moon. The temperature gradient on Mars is very cold. It goes from I don't know minus 50, minus 100. Up to maybe potentially freezing or just above freezing. We know it goes above freezing because every so often there is some indication of water flow, right? So yeah, so it's very inhospitable. But the thing is that it has all the ingredients you need to maintain life. Oh, and the other thing is it only has 1/3 of the gravity, which may be a problem if you bring people there and then leave them there, because once you have babies and stuff, the babies might turn out to be like 10 feet tall, and they might have difficulty reproducing because of the low gravity, right?
So much emojis. I almost sent all of them.
all right, cut it out. No, I want to talk some more about this particular lander.
Hold on, friends.
And how, that's all right, I can see it over there. This particular lander and how it actually manages to slow down enough in order to land on Mars, okay? And because the atmosphere of Mars is so thin, they do use the same mechanics. It's called aerobraking. What it does is that they have to plow through more of the atmosphere, right? And it's a lot harder to do on Mars than it is to do on Earth, but that they have to go through the same mechanics. So they have to plow through the atmosphere, slow it down enough so that you can actually pop a giant parachute. If you're going too fast and you pop the parachute you just like disintegrate.
Yeah.
Right?
What 10 feet tall babies? Then open mouth emoji.
You're distracting my only audience here. I might have to fire you, kitty cat. Actually, no. That's all right. You're still emoji commander. So, all right. So first you have to go to orbit around the planet. Second, you have to like do the aerobraking maneuver successfully. So you send the lander spacecraft down. It comes down with a giant heat shield, right? Much bigger than the one that they use on the capsules that send astronauts back from space, right? And the giant heat shield slows it down using the aerobraking maneuver in the Martian atmosphere. And when it's slow enough, they pop a giant parachute, right? The parachute slows them down enough so that they can pop another parachute to slow them even more. And then when they get down to about, I don't know what the exact figure is, probably like 1 or 2 kilometers or whatever, they drop the parachute, they drop the heat shield, right? And then they ignite these retro rocket engines. So it becomes a hovering rocket ship, right?
Yep.
And then it goes around and finds the optimal location to land it. It goes over that location, and then it lowers the actual rover platform down to the ground using like an elevator mechanism, like a giant a cable, right? So it lowers that thing down. It's still hovering with rocket engines on. It lowers that lander down to the ground, and then it cuts the cable and shoots off and flies somewhere else safe to crash into. And then that's how they deliver the lander to Mars. So this entire process is going to take a couple of days. So I think this first, let me do some more research, but I think this first, what we're doing right now is probably the orbital insertion and maybe the aerobraking, but we will see.
Okay. That is interesting than parachute.
Yeah.
There you'll also have a chance to
Why is
sign
it
up to send
faded
your
color
name
Oh, wait, I
though?
have to show.
on NASA's
the-
next
Oh,
flight to
no
the Red
wonder.
Planet.
That
And
is
put
it, there you
yourself
go.
right into the action with our Perseverance photo booth. You can pose
Okay,
next to the
so
rover, place
these are
yourself
live
in our
events.
mission control,
All right, so
and
I guess
easily
this
see
just
what
gives
the
us
looks
a
like
taste
taking
of what it
a
is
selfie
tomorrow.
with the Red
So
Planet.
definitely we'll come
Again,
back and
all
do the
available
live
at
coverage tomorrow
Yep.
on the Mars Perseverance rover landing. Okay?
After I finish my school.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, if you're still in school, I'll have to do it like myself, so that's fine.
Thank you so much for watching and joining us this afternoon.
And that's the
And go
ending.
Perseverance.
So today was more of a briefing.
Yep.
Okay, and so we're going to let me just pause this one right here. Actually, I'll just leave it going. So the schedule is going to be tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Perseverance Mars rover landing day live streams for students, and then here we go. Looks like around 2:15 p.m. NASA will provide multiple feeds of live landing coverage of Perseverance Mars rover leading up to the rover's landing at approximately 3:55 p.m. Eastern time. So this time tomorrow is where the landing is going to be scheduled. So, all right. Thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you in particular to Politics. Yeah, you're so cool, buddy. So yeah, emoji, come on.
Emoji,
Hearts.
emoji.
We need some hearts
I need
out
all
here.
the hearts. I need all the animals.
Right. So tomorrow we'll probably start this around like, I don't know, 3 o'clock or something like that, or maybe 3:30.
3:05. That's when my school ends.
All right. So we'll start at around 3. I don't know, 3:20, 3:30. We'll see. We'll put a notice up, and hopefully we'll be able to land the rover successfully. That would be so exciting, right? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna cut this now. So thank you everyone for coming to this preliminary live stream on the Perseverance Mars rover landing. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And if you like it, give a thumbs up.
And subscribe and leave a comment.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.